Hello, Nari McDiarmid for miningnews.net, and I'd like to welcome back Mark Bojanjac, Executive Chairman of US-focused copper gold explorer PolarX. And Mark, you've just received some strong support from major gold miner Northern Star Resources. What does this mean for PolarX?
Well, it means we've got an underwriter for our $5 million raising. But most importantly, it's not a broker, right? It's a major gold producer based in Australia, and they see the same things we see, essentially. Lots of money to come from what we've got in Alaska, and a lot of excitement in Nevada. So it's a sign of bigger things to come, to be honest with you. We're currently undertaking a $5 million raising. They put their hand up for anything our shareholders don't do. So we'll fill it with our own guys first. But essentially anything our guys don't or can't do, Northern Star will do. And that enables us to do a lot of things early this season. We need to tidy up some minority positions in Alaska, so it'll give us money to do that straight away. We need to order some rigs to start drilling in the middle of the year, so it'll give us money for that straight away. And in the background, we'll be working on a closer position with Northern Star again into the future. It is very, very handy having a large international producer on our register in Northern Star. They're not alone, and there's Rougher Gold Fund, one of the world's largest funds, US Global, Lundin Mining, and a host of others. So, they all see what we see. But I think, as I was saying earlier, a lot of things are not as they would normally be on ASX at the moment. The capital markets are not as good as they could be. So as a junior, you've got to start to think outside the box. If you've got the resource and somebody else has got the mining expertise, there are ways of doing this commercially. And essentially, you kind of almost have to circumvent what's going on ASX at the moment to get on with things. And that's what we've got in mind.
Well, speaking of getting on with things, Mark, you touched on some plans earlier, but could we delve into a little more detail? So with these funds in hand, what is the focus for 2024?
Bigger is better. We're back to that. And look, the reason for that is we know that already for this project in Alaska, as it stands between Zackley and Caribou Dome, that it will generate an NPV of $625 million over 9.5 years. It'll pay back capital of $226 million in less than 18 months. And it'll generate $10 million net cash flow per month in, month out for life of mine at the moment. And it shows a 74% internal rate of return, right? You don't see those very often anywhere. So it's very, very robust because it's very, very high-grade copper at the surface, particularly at Caribou Dome. We know that carries more depth. We've only modelled Caribou from surface, and there is 4 and 5% copper at surface, down to 300 metres. But we know there's mineralisation below that. There are at least 2 holes down to 450 metres from surface. That needs infilling, and think we can see well beyond that as well. And it's still open at strike, certainly at one end. So there's more to be had there. So we'll be sending rigs in this year. In fact, we're organising that now, probably from late May, early June, right the way through to close of season. So, we'll be aiming to come back with something substantially bigger than it already is, in an environment where we know that even adding 2 million tonnes of the same material that we already have would add the best part of another 200 million to that 625 million NPV today. So, there's a lot to be had in terms of uplift for the next round of drilling. And we can quantify it because we've done the scoping study work to do so.
Well, speaking of uplift, and value uplift is something investors always want to hear. So, Mark, in a nutshell, what's the final message you'd like to leave with a potential investor?
PolarX is different. It's probably the one thing you need to remember. Yes, we're well backed. No, that's not an accident. They see what we see, as I keep saying. If you want immediate upside, there it is in Caribou Dome, exactly. And it's tangible. We've wrapped a scoping study around it. We can show numbers on it. We know how many tonnes add whatever value going forward. There is a brand new one down in Nevada, not to be forgotten at all, because we certainly haven't. And we're surrounded by 20 million ounces of gold in the immediate vicinity there. We border a 5 million ounce. Yet our tenure hasn't been worked in 100 years. We're the first to do anything with it. We have a screaming target there, nearly 3 kilometres long and 800 metres wide, that just needs drilling. You know, we're seeking to go and do that as well. And if you want mega upside, we've still got the porphyry discovery in Alaska as well. You know, we'd be keeping that going forward because we know this is a very, very large porphyry system in Alaska, which yet, we've yet to unfold. But, that's a story for a future day. So a lot going on, plenty of it immediate, plenty of it in the future.
Well, Mark, thank you very much for taking the time to run through that today.
Thanks, Nari. Always a pleasure. Bye for now.